Couldn't argue with that one. You bet, I agreed, moving faster and faster, leaving the lift behind. Then one of the prismatic beams flashed and illuminated three unavoidable facts. The bottom of the shaft had been closed. It was now full of toxic water, and half my body was made of metal. Oh, shit. Was all I got as we plunged in together. Boo and Psycho-Shy floated. Me? I sank like a rock, my eyes barely picking out anything in the red gloom of the submerged lights. This water burned. Maybe not as bad as the cloud had, but between the poisonous water, the lift dropping a mechanical death machine down on my friends, and the enervation sapping any opponent's strength, it didn't look good. I had to wonder if Little Pip or the Stable Dweller ever had days like mine. As I dropped into the toxic liquid, I dimly made out the door framed in a hazy red light. I spotted a lever beside them and tried to flail my way towards it. I wasn't a good swimmer even before I got the metal limbs. Worse, there was some kind of pit beneath the doors filled with machinery. To run the lift, I supposed. If I missed the landing... don't think about it, Blackjack. Just move sideways, more down. Sideways! That way! I watched the lip of the landing drift past my outstretched hooves. I screamed in a fury of sudsy bubbles and wailed wildly, wanting to beat the shit out of the world. I supposed it might have counted as swimming. It was enough to get my forehooves over the lip, and I extended the fingers around the lever. I really wanted to breathe right now. Really, was a little oxygen too much to ask? Maybe I could breathe poisoned water. Why was I thinking about poisoned water when my friends were about to be crushed? I had to be like a certain white pony and just hold on a little longer. I pulled the lever as hard as I could. It popped, crawling inch by inch as I struggled. The door groaned from the pressure against it. I tried to brace my hooves and pull again. Really? Just a little air? Maybe the professor had given me some special lungs to breathe water and hadn't told me? Maybe. Stop thinking and pull, Blackjack. Then there was another resounding pong, and suddenly the sound of an endless toilet flushing. The doors opened partially, and I was suddenly pushed into the gap. It wasn't quite wide enough for me, though, and I braced my back against the metal and pushed with all four hooves. Come on. Come on. Cut me some frickin' slack here. There was one final bang, and with it the doors popped wide and I was launched out of the red passageway beyond. A torrent poured after me, knocking me end over end. My chest burned and my ears rang, and I really wished I was capable of throwing up. With a yell, my friends were flushed out after me. Boo snorting and coughing, P-21 retching, and Rampage spit a stream like a fountain. Of course, then the groaning began. This was the kind of enervation that killed in minutes rather than hours. The red tunnel was completely undamaged and was dominated by two large subway tracks and a broad concrete road. A few wagons and lots of crates were stacked where they had been the last few centuries. Okay, so plan is we trot along and take the first exit out of here, right? Good plan. I coughed and rubbed my cheek, then blinked. Okay, I wanted a mirror, right? Never mind. I didn't want a mirror. Maybe a paper bag for now and a mirror for later. Then, when we weren't in a tunnel of magical death. I trotted over to a wagon and wiggled into the harness. I was the only one not being reduced to groaning weakness at the moment. Did I forget anything? Then I heard the groan of the lift in the shaft as it reached the landing. The Rainbow Sentinel hissed softly for a moment as it turned the little turret head to look right at me. Oh, yeah, right. I muttered. Its prismatic cannon lit up, and I raced over to my friends as the beam sliced where I'd been standing. It was faster this time. Get in! Get in now! I yelled as they crawled into the back of the wagon. Faster! Faster! It was cutting its way across the doors. Come on, everybody in? Right. I tore off along the concrete road as it burst into the passageway behind us. The four-legged mech hopped onto the subway rails and started to roll after me. Okay, at least we're moving. Could be worse, I yelled, focusing on speed as the four-wheeled metal wagon rattled behind me. Then his Gatling gun whirled and a line of explosions crawled along the red concrete walls above me, slowly working their way back and forth as it pursued. It can't get any worse, I yelled. The prismatic beam then lit up and bent horizontal after me. The munitions crates exploded with shock waves that threatened to dump me off my metal hooves. Shut up and run! P-21 bellowed behind me, then gasped at the enervation. I doubled down. I was the one with the cybernetic legs and not getting the life sucked out of me. And, oh, look at that little bar with a flashing E beside it. I knew I'd forgotten something. I was barely able to finish and fish out a spicy little ruby and try to suck on it, just to keep my power going long enough to live. I saw a pair of doors that read MAS EBS number 14, sealed up tight. I slowed for just a second, and that row of explosions from the Gatling grenade launcher almost passed right over us. There was no way I could slow down for it. I could only grit my teeth and go faster. Then I looked back at my riders, digging through the crates, and yelled, "Is there anything we can use?" A second later, P-21 popped into view, his forelegs hugging a portable missile launcher. Then Rampage sat up, hugging 2 legfuls of grenades. Finally, Boo sat up, gnawing idly on a missile. I grinned. There was nothing quite as good as being able to shoot back. The missile launcher thumped and hissed as fast as P-21 could load it, and Rampage lobbed magic disintegration grenades as fast as Boo could dig them out. I didn't think she knew precisely what they were, but she knew that Rampage was glad to throw them. The Ultra now had to slow down, bob and weave to avoid our return fire. I slowly started to gain ground. Then a pair of lights flashed on the rails ahead of us, and a train roared by, brakes shrieking as sparks sprayed over its wheels. The Ultra Sentinel leapt on the other set of tracks to avoid being scrapped by it. Even I couldn't keep this up forever. We were approaching another set of double doors. MAS EBS number 13, it read. Still, no time to get in. Right now, all I could do was run as fast as I could and swerve to avoid the crates of munitions littering the tunnel. Rampage and P-21 were failing fast, too. They were firing wildly now, just trying to get lucky. P-21 was bleeding out his nose. I couldn't even see Boo. Then a pair of headlights lit up the other track. The electric train had reversed and begun to pull, even with the wagon. I glanced back at the flatbed cars, piled high with crates marked Danger, Explosives. The Ultra Sentinel began to drop back. Oh, crap. It's going to blow the train! Where could I go? What could I do? Stop? I would just make us a sitting target. Go faster? I was going as fast as I could. I looked at the racks of missiles loaded on the back as the train pulled even. What did the city even need with that much ordnance for? Then P-21 hefted the missile launcher and aimed it very deliberately. But not at the robot chasing us or the trainload of explosives, because, unlike me, he was a smart pony who didn't do stupid things. No. He aimed it at the train's wheels. The missile hissed down and exploded. There was an ear-splitting squeal as the front wheels locked up and popped off the rails. The car twisted sideways and flipped, dragging the next car over with it and spilling munitions crates across the entire tunnel. With a muffled whump, a missile rack exploded as the Ultra's beam Gatling tagged it. The explosions rapidly built, and suddenly I felt a pressure wave shoving the cart along the tunnel. My hooves leaving the floor for several seconds as the firestorm set off explosion after explosion. I remembered the elevator and prayed, "Don't blow up, don't blow up, don't blow up," to the crates in the wagon behind me. Fortunately, there was another pair of doors ahead, marked Maramare. I dug in my hooves, wincing as they screeched along the crate, trying to slow without crashing completely. My hide felt gross underneath the barding and hazmat suit. I just wanted to scrape it all away. I sweated and panted and gasped and sagged in the harness. I reached my cyber pony limits. I had been shot, stabbed, blown up, drowned, and poisoned. I was done. Then there was a metallic grating noise, and a flaming chunk of train car was pushed aside. The blackened Ultra Sentinel was, with busted Gatling grenade launcher and prismatic cannon, looked at me with its little cameras and gave a low rumble as it charged after us, trailing a cloud of smoke and flaming debris. "Oh, come on!" I shouted, looking at the heavy doors. How in Equestria have we lost the war with machines as tenacious as this? There were 2 more sets of levers by the door. I pushed one, throwing my whole body against it, while P-21 and Rampage shoved themselves against the other. Motors whirled, and without the pressure of thousands of gallons of water against them, the doors opened quite easily. Please be the bottom, please be at the bottom. I prayed silently as I pulled the wagon through. It was at the bottom. I felt like I could fly. We piled into the platform and pulled the lever, and immediately the lift crawled up the diagonal slope. Finally, I relaxed and tried to take a nice deep breath. The doors squealed as the Ultra rammed its way through and off the landing onto the slope, its 4 wheels screaming as they fought for purchase, and then it started to crawl its way up the ramp after us. The busted prismatic gun unleashed a shotgun-like spray of wild magic beams that made us all take cover. "Oh, that is it!" I shouted, slamming the elevator's lever into reverse. "What are you doing?" P-21 gaped at me, holding the white stasis boxes as I wiggled out of the wagon's harness. "I'm through playing around!" I shouted as I shoved the wagon over the edge. The munitions crates tumbled into the wildly spraying energy in blue. I didn't even flinch from the shrapnel as I drove the lift straight into the flaming robot. It raised its burning front wheels before the lift collided and began pushing back down the slope. The electronic eyes of the Sentinel blazed suddenly, intense green, and its speaker released a screech of feedback and static as it lifted its leg feebly. Then it shrieked, "Give it to me! Give it to me!" "Oh, I'm going to give it to you, all right," I muttered at the insane robot, then crushed the Ultra Sentry like a bug against the bottom of the ramp. Then I raised the lift and lowered it several times till the shriek silenced completely. Finally, as we started back up, I took the missile launcher from P-21, shot to the edge, and fired it into the sparking wreckage. As the lift rose, I tossed the spent launcher down after it. I huffed, sitting in the middle of the lift, and dug out a ruby to suck on. P-21 stared at me as I sat back against the lift controls. "So, go to Hippocampic Research, get EC-1101 back, stop sanguine, and get out," I murmured as I looked at the confused Buck. I slowly smiled, or tried to smile. I really did not want to know how bad the damage was. I think this counts as one of my plans actually working. And I glowed with pride as he was rendered speechless in wonder.